One of you put on the church Facebook page these words. There's two kinds of tired. The one kind requires rest, and the other one requires peace. You know, peace is kind of hard to find lately. I think I've given up on world peace. That ain't going to happen. I can't imagine what it's like for God to look upon the world and say, this is not what I had in mind, you know? Different countries, different colors, different religions, and all people do is fight to see who's in control. I think of Ukraine, and I think of the violence in all the parts of our world. I think of the tensions and the divisions in our own country. Yesterday afternoon, I sat on my little porch and looked at my big flag, and I saw the flag waving in the wind. What's that song by Peter, Paul, and Mary? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Maybe the answer is in there somewhere. We all get tired, and we all get weary, and we all need peace. You know, when you have those times when you can be at peace with who you are, when you feel a sense of peace inside your soul, somehow that peace can give us the strength to get through whatever the day is going to bring. One of the places where I feel most at peace is when I share communion. Because at least when I receive the gifts of bread and wine, whether it's here at the altar or in the hospital room or in your family room or in your backyard, wherever it happens to be, for that moment, the world stops. And it's just me and God and Jesus. I'm not competing with anybody. I'm not trying to be better than anybody else. I don't feel inferior to anybody else. It's just me and who I am. And somehow God gently grabs us and say, whoever you are, for now, it is okay. You know, I never understood, never will, and I don't want to. I don't want to understand how communion can be refused to anybody who wants it. I feel guilty when your first and second grader comes up here, and I have to pass them up because they haven't had the, quote, class yet. And to some extent, I don't think that's even right. To me, when you come to the altar, whether you understand communion or not, no matter who or what you are, you deserve to receive the gifts. When Jesus had the Lord's Supper the night before he died, there were no rule books. All he said to his disciples was, I'm leaving you, and from now on, when you taste of this bread and drink of this wine, you will know that I am with you. You don't need classes to understand that. It's a gift. What he's telling us is when you're troubled, I'm with you. When you're tempted to give up, I am with you. When you do something good and have a moment of joy, I am with you. Because communion, when I was in high school, I had this communion class where, okay, this is what the Lutherans think the bread and the wine is. This is what the Catholics think the bread and the wine is. This is what the Presbyterians think the bread. I'm thinking to myself, it's bread and wine. Don't explain it. Because communion is not about what happens to the bread and wine. Communion is about what happens to your guts. Communion is about what happens to us on the inside, so that when I walk out the door, I can take the gift of acceptance and use that kindness and gift to make a difference in the world. Communion is about a spiritual happening inside the body and soul of each one of us. Because the gospel today is about a banquet. There are no positions of honor. Nobody's more important than anybody else. And Jesus says, when you have a dinner, just invite the lame and the poor and the blind, the non-church, the sinners, the dysfunctional Lutherans. Bring them all together. It's a banquet that is open to the human community. And in Hebrews it says, God says, I will never leave you. And then he says, be satisfied with what you have. So this morning, for a few moments, I step outside my office and stand in the middle of the parking lot looking lonely and sad, looking across LaGrange Road as the sun is beginning to rise. And I thought about all the stuff that I have, all the ordinary blessings that come my way each and every day. And I thought about how often I spend so much of my time dealing with stuff that's wrong and celebrating stuff that's right. Every day, each one of us has the power to take an act of kindness to make a difference in the life of somebody else. We can do that every day. An act of kindness is more powerful than a Russian bomb. An act of kindness is more powerful than the self-centered meatball that drives us crazy every single day. An act of kindness is more powerful than the person who continues to hurt you. An act of kindness has the power to get you through all that stuff and help us realize that we are accepted and a child of God, and we can be strong on the inside. Thursday night, we had communion around the altar in the back, and I just share random thoughts. My sermons are pretty random. And I read a thank you note that Kathy Klein had received from a coworker of hers. And her coworker, who was very humble, none of us have met her. She does not know us. But her daughter-in-law and son are going to be married next month. And the son's fiancée, wife-to-be, has advanced cancer. And they have had a tough couple of years, the whole family. And over these last couple of years, we have helped them. We have given them some financial help. We have prayed for them. And Kathy got this beautiful letter that I shared Thursday night, where her friend said, the people in your church don't know us. On the surface, we're strangers. And yet please let them know that your church's generosity and prayers has held us together and given us the strength to move forward. And in the second lesson for today, the apostle says you have to welcome strangers into your life. And sometimes those strangers become angels that are transforming in your journey. And so on the way out, one of the people that was at the service, she said, I'm thinking about that lady and her family. She says, do you think $1,000 would help? And I thought to myself, that's crazy. They're strangers. And she looked at me and said, they're not strangers anymore. That's the kind of banquet that fuels my soul every single day. Amen. If you're able to, please rise for the creed.